KUAM News Headlines, presented by Calvo's Insurance, serving Guam for 80 years. Matson and the Adai Tano program. The all-new 2018 Kona by Hyundai, available at Cars Plus. IP&E Fueling Excellence. McDonald's of Guam, I'm Loving It, and King's Restaurant, located in Tamuning and Dededo. Always open, always local.
Ahead on Primetime, days after he allegedly tried to scam ATM users, a man wanted in connection to an apparent skimming operation is captured. Plus, a woman accused in a deadly auto-pedestrian crash is released from prison one day after being arrested for vehicular homicide. And the new head of University of Guam sits down with Island Media to talk about his plans as he settles in at the home of the Tritons. Holiday and good evening. An apparent con artist is stopped in its tracks. Police capturing a man caught on camera after at least 2 skimming devices were found on local bank ATMs. Here's more. His face fit the bill. Bank of Guam released these surveillance images on Monday, showing a man wearing a blue cap and sunglasses at one of their ATMs. The following day, the suspect was arrested. 27-year-old Nicola Marinelli isn't from Guam, but the length of his stay now indefinite. The Italian man was apparently out on Tuesday at a Tamuning restaurant when a vigilant bank staffer recognized him and called police. Marinelli was brought to GPD Teton headquarters for interviewing. That's where police learned he was the man behind the skimming devices discovered at the Micronesia Mall on August 2nd and Subway in Agate on August 4th. But that's not all. Marinelli apparently was also caught carrying a number of fraudulent credit cards. It's unclear if Marinelli was responsible for a third skimming incident back in June, also involving a Bank of Guam ATM. The FBI and U.S. Secret Service were also involved in these investigations. Bank of Guam has confirmed that it was a bank manager who was on his way home picking up pizza for his family when he spotted Marinelli. Bank interim president and CEO King Cook states, quote, "The recent series of events heightens our attention to cybercrime invading our community. The best defense is to stay informed and be cautious when using your payment card and PIN. By being an informed and engaged consumer, we can all play an important role in cybersecurity and fight against fraud," end quote. Don't fall victim to skimming. As a reminder, always inspect the ATM, gas pump, or credit reader before using it. Block your PIN number and try to use ATMs in an inside location. If your card is not returned after the transaction or after hitting cancel, call your bank immediately. She should have made her first court appearance today. Instead, she's been released from custody. 54-year-old Graciela Shinohara Shelton was given a notice to appear in 3 years. As reported, the Asin woman was placed under arrest in connection to a deadly auto-pedestrian crash in Anigua that occurred last month. The victim, 54-year-old Willie Kias, was crossing the street from the gas station heading towards the bell tower when he was allegedly hit by Shelton's car. His death marked the 10th auto-pedestrian fatality of this year. She faces charges of vehicular homicide, imprudent driving, and speeding in a posted zone. Her son, Dr. Austin Shelton, issued the following statement, quote, "Growing up, my mom always taught me to drive safely, especially on that dark stretch of road in Anigua. This was a tragic accident, and my family prays every day for the deceased and his family. Anyone's mother could have been involved in an accident like this on that dark road. It is upsetting that there was a spectacle for her to be arrested and put in such a stressful situation after what was clearly an accident," end quote. Graciela Shelton is being represented by attorney Randy Cunliffe. Instead of taking her home, a couple is accused of taking a teen to their house where she was allegedly sexually molested and held against her will to leave. 31-year-old Marcus Roby is charged with third-degree criminal sexual conduct. Court documents state the victim in this case was a 16-year-old girl known to him. The teen was reportedly walking along a Dededo road late at night when Roby and a woman, identified by police as 34-year-old Trisha Iro, offered her a ride home. The girl was taken to Roby's house where the suspect told her he dropped her after the sun came up. Authorities say the teen then apparently drank alcohol with the couple. Documents state the teen awoke later that afternoon with Roby on top of her, forcing himself on her and undressing her. The girl was able to kick Roby off and use her cell phone to call police. Investigators say Ira was also arrested on charges of felonious restraint and child abuse. Only Roby, though, appeared in court today. They reportedly told police they bought drugs from a dark website using Bitcoin. Sean Codiata and Robin Alexander Young were picked up by authorities after they picked up their mail. Court documents state a drug detector dog sniffed out the drugs, in total 321 gross grams of marijuana. Authorities placed an electronic trigger in the package and repackaged the items for a controlled delivery. Both men were arrested and charged with importation of a Schedule I controlled substance and conspiracy to import a Schedule I controlled substance, both as first-degree felonies. Court marshals got more than what they were looking for. Authorities were at a Jonia home looking for individuals with active warrants for arrest when they found 25-year-old Alexander Tremaine Aguero. Though he tried to make a run for it, marshals had the home covered. A pat-down revealed he had 5 individually sealed bags with the suspected drug ice. Though he wouldn't snitch on his drug source, court documents state he told police it was for his personal use only. A warrant for Aguero's arrest was issued last month. A priest on the run appears to have retained local legal counsel. Brooks Conception Law PC entered its appearance as counsel of record for Father Adrian Cristobal. The filing was signed by attorney Georgette Bello Conception. As reported, 3 former Barragata altar boys allege Father Adrian sexually molested them. One of the victims, identified only by his initials as JCC, alleges the abuse spanned over a 15-year period and only came to an end in 2013. Father Adrian was ordered to return back to Guam but was a no-show. The Archdiocese of Agana, as a result, imposed sanctions on the priest to include no wearing of the clerical garb, no celebrating Mass, and no hearing confession. Majority of the 180 clergy sexual abuse lawsuits are expected to head to settlement. A status hearing is set for August 14th. An early morning car crash in Jigo ends with an SUV colliding into a concrete pole before catching fire. The driver lost control of the car before it occurred. He miraculously made it out unharmed. First responders were called to the scene of the crash around 7 o'clock this morning. It happened along Route 15, the back road to Anderson Air Force Base, near the Jigo Raceway Park. Drivers passing by capturing images of the burning SUV. It caused traffic delays for some time as authorities worked to clear the scene. GPA crews also responded to shut off electricity to the power lines. Crews then began making repairs after the car was towed away. Police are investigating the cause, but again, no injuries were reported. In day 8 of the Battle of the Budget, senators spent the session in an agency-by-agency review of the executive branch budget appropriations. The previous week was spent debating tax increases to make up for the revenue lost from the Trump tax reforms. They also approved slashing the budgets of the governor's office, Revenue Tax, and the Department of Administration, and forcing them to collect about $18 million in unpaid previous year taxes to fully fund operations. But Senator Jim Espaldon cited an example about relying on a non-guaranteed funding source for a mandatory payment. The budget bill currently contains 3 provisions that increases taxes. It makes permanent the 5% business privilege tax. It increases the real property tax on improvements of $1 million or more, and it increases the tobacco tax from $15 to $20 on every 100 pack of cigarettes. That amounts to an increase of $1 per pack. GovGuam faces a $138 million revenue shortfall created by the Trump tax reforms. Coming up on D18 tonight, we have another group of senatorial candidates ready to take your questions. We have Democrats Sabina Perez and Senator Regine Bisco-Lee, as well as Republican candidate Ken Joe Atta. Remember, it's completely interactive, so tune in and post those questions on our Facebook live stream so we can get them to your candidates. D18 tonight is coming up at the bottom of the hour, right after primetime. Stick around. Next, we head over to the legislature to find out the latest with the budget talks in Hagåtña. Stay tuned. You're watching KUAM.
There are more ways to experience KUAM News than any other source on Guam. Download the KUAM News app for your Apple or Android device for 24/7 news, sports, videos, weather, streaming with KUAM radio, and important news alerts. And stay connected at home with Guam's first app for Apple TV. All available now from the App Store.
A simple handshake. That's all Jake Calvo needed when he started his company. Today, 80 years later, we like to say thank you to all of you who have taken our hand in trust. Thank you to the dreamers. Thank you to the realists. Thank you to the family-oriented. Thank you to the entrepreneurial. Thank you to those climbing the corporate ladder. And to the ones starting a new life together. Thank you to the traditionalists and the edgy, to the young at heart and the old souls. Thank you to the daring, to the protective, to the practical. Thank you to the hopeful. To all of you from all of us, our deepest, happiest, and infinite thanks.
80 years here for you. 80 years thanks to you. Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust.
Our workforce is changing, and our students need to be prepared for the challenges that are ahead. I graduated high school at GCC when we could learn a trade and even prepare for college. Our students deserve schools that are safe and books and resources that help prepare them for their future.
A Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration will rebuild Simon Sanchez, fix our schools, integrate technology in the classroom, and expand access to trades. I'm in to help get us there, and we humbly ask for your vote.
I'm Leon Guerrero, and I approve this message.
Win adventure in the ITNE Explore Your World Million Mile Giveaway. Every week from July 16 to November 2nd, we're giving away 60,000 United Mileage Plus miles to ITNE postpaid and prepaid subscribers. Imagine where you could go. Go on a weekend getaway to the Philippines. Enjoy fresh sushi in Japan. Itadakimasu. Sip a latte at a cafe in Paris. Or use your miles for shopping and other rewards. It's your world. Explore it.
There are more ways to experience Guam via KUAM News, giving you what you want, when you want, and how you want it. From smart devices, Alexa, what's in the news?
Here's your flash briefing.
Over the web, on mobile, on streaming platforms, with immersive, interactive formats, and via social media where it's more than just content, it's conversation. More ways to keep you informed and entertained whenever you want it, wherever you are, on whatever device you're using.
Hafa and welcome back. Leading the University of Guam into the future, Dr. Thomas Christ has officially started his first week as UOG's 11th president. After a somewhat controversial selection in a pool of 60 applicants, he was selected for the top spot over some local nominees. Carmen Terlahi reports.
It's the warm welcome to Guam that left an impression on UOG's 11th president, Dr. Thomas Christ. The former president of Pacific Lutheran University served 22 years in the U.S. Air Force. During his first visit to campus, his plans for the university included increasing the number of veteran students, expanding Chamorro studies, more sustainability science courses, and adding new graduate programs. Now looking forward to continue UOG's mission to serve as a regional leader in Micronesia.
I should emphasize that education is a long game. Excellence takes time and investment of resources and people and expertise, and steadiness of support is really, really important. The reading really tells me that that this institution has done tremendous work on issues particularly related to people and to the idea of islands. So this island, very specifically, but also the islands of Micronesia.
Though not from Micronesia, he believes his background living in the Virgin Islands lends a hand to understand Guam's unique island culture. Dr. Christ is eager to work with campus leaders like Vice President Dr. Anita Borja Enriquez, the only local finalist in the top 4.
She's a very accomplished academic administrator, and I look forward to working with her.
Working through challenges issues head-on, such as the current budget crisis and potential budget shortfall for UOG, with an increase in enrollment from last year's 700 new Tritons to over 900 students in this year's freshman class. Dr. Kreis says finance is a major issue he hopes to address to ensure students' success.
One important thing is to make sure that we're getting every possible grant. Every institution has money left on the table, and so I think more investment and attention to getting all the kinds of resources that we can is really important.
Kreis adds that continuing momentum for current programs, such as the Good to Great initiative, is key. Dr. Underwood is staying on board until August 25th to help President Kreis transition. Reporting for Guam News Network, I'm Carmen Victoria Terlahi.
Now to news from our neighbors to the north. The Northern Mariana Islands House of Representatives has approved a bill to legalize and regulate marijuana for adult and medical use. The measure now heads to the Senate, which approved a similar proposal in May. It would allow users 21 and older and patients with certain medical conditions to possess up to an ounce of marijuana, 16 ounces in solid form and 72 ounces in liquid form of marijuana-infused products, and 5 grams of marijuana extracts. You can view more on the measure on KUAM.com. With more regional headlines, here's KSPN2 News.
Half a day, Guam. Here's what's making news in the CNMI. Congressman Greg Khalili-Sablan asked Governor Ralph Torres to support his bill allowing permanent status to long-term workers in the Marianas. And Governor Torres and his running mate, Senate President Arnold Palacios, respond. Take a listen. In regards to Congressman Khalili's Legacy Workers Act, are you for or against?
Well, we'll be stating, let me just for the record that I've always been an advocate for long-term status. Since we were in the Senate, that was the first government document, so that's 10 years ago. Referring back to 10 years ago, Governor Ralph Torres and running mate in the 2018 election, Senate President Arnold Palacios, say they are in support of long-term workers. However, in regards to Congressman Greg Khalili-Sablan's legislation,
2 years ago, the governor made that statement. I was privileged to have been on the 902 talk, and so is Angel. And we had a very, very brisk and very honest discussion about it, and so we're certainly in support of that particular issue to give consideration and come forth and support the legislation. It should have been done 2 years ago.
Seeking the support now, Congressman Khalili-Sablan made a request in a letter on August 1st to the governor, yet did not hear an official reply or endorsement of the Stabilization Act. In the letter, Congressman says, quote, "You yourself in your role as special representative in Section 902 consultations with the Obama administration supported my position that we should make long-term workers in the Marianas eligible for permanent status. Now the Northern Mariana Islands Workforce Stabilization Act continues my pursuit of this goal. I ask you for your official and formal statement of support for my legislation and the policy goal it represents," end quote. And Governor Torres responds this week during an interview with KSPN2.
Let me just for the record, I've been in support without his introduction to begin with. So my support for long-term status was started before he even said anything about long-term status. So if there's anything, I congratulate him for supporting our view of our document that we have first forward the long-term status. So if there's anyone to claim about long-term status in support, it'll be our document in the Senate for that matter. So I congratulate everybody who's supporting on our approach and our view on the long-term status.
A long-term status for those who have lived and worked in the Marianas for many years. This is H.R. 6578 that Congressman Sablan introduced on July 26th.
Does this mean you will be working with the delegate in his bill?
Well, like I said, whatever that it takes for me to continue that support. But I just want to say that I've always been in support of long-term status. And then, I'll be working with other Congress as well in the Republican Party because it is a Republican leadership.
Let me just step back to that question because, as you well know, even in the paper this morning, our president delegate said that it doesn't have a very good chance of passing in this Congress. So yeah, we'll work with whoever is the delegate to make sure that that happens.
Watch these top stories and more at saipantv.com. For KSPN2, I'm Adriana Cotero.
74 years ago, 52 Chamorros from across the island were killed in the Chiguian area of Jigo. A ceremony was held Wednesday to honor the men who were beheaded by Japanese soldiers in the waning days of Guam's liberation. Nestor Lacanto reports.
These are the names of the 45 men whose remains were found in Chiguian. More recently, 7 others are believed to have been similarly slain in an area nearby known as Salisbury, though 3 remain unknown. It's been the mission of retired Army Sergeant Major Juan Blas to make sure those massacre victims are never forgotten. He and Jigo Mayor Rudy Matanani organized the yearly memorials. The mayor reads a letter this year from Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe.
What we must not forget is that a number of Guamanians living peacefully with love to the beautiful homeland fell victims to the war. On this occasion, I would like to extend my prayers for souls of all the victims of Chiguian.
The slain Chamorros ranged in age from 15 to 76. They were killed in the last days before the American liberation invasion. Keynote speaker Air Force Brigadier General Gentry Boswell quoting scripture on how the Lord is close to the brokenhearted.
Where they remind us that in all the days of our lives, for goodness and in bad, that our Lord will never forsake us. He is with us always, just as he was with these men on their last day on this earth. He was with them in their transition to the next life with him. And he is with us today as we remember this, a different community with healing and forgiveness.
The victims were honored with wreaths by the dignitaries, and family members were called on to light candles in their memory.
Chiguian, oh Chiguian, you watched a great atrocity. Chiguian.
For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lacanto.
Sports is next, but first, weather.